rather than
in the mission
in
statement.
the mission statement. And the way I looked at it is if I was on Mary Jo Wagner's show or Alive at 5 trying to sell this to a customer, if I started in talking about analyze, critique, envision, redesign existing structures and functions, etc., they weren't going to understand anyway.
Right.
And that whatever we developed in totality, we could explain later, but that the mission should just capture it and be done. But I do agree with Gail's word that disposition is an educational word.
Okay, so is there anything in, there's nothing in this statement that somebody wants to say we need to bring into this?
I mean, when I looked at the third one, I would like to see the EDI component in
I agree.
the equity diversity.
And that's in both this one and this one?
And this in every one but the third one.
I don't know if we can, I was thinking, how can I take out dispositions and then put the equity versus inclusivity within there, but I mean, it doesn't read that well, but that's,
Okay. Anything else? And we'll follow up with, discussion, but we'll discuss whether or not to include this. Anything else?
And then just about the mission specifically, thinking about it, it's kind of like an elevator speech, a little bit like what Carol was saying, be able to rattle off, leaders as learners, 21st century knowledge, skills, continuous improvement, those types of things fall in that mission. I can see falling underneath the mission, we'll accomplish the mission by being certain to include equity, diversity, and inclusivity as part of each of our programs. We will, do it by blah, 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 but is that really part of our mission is the question.
Okay.
There's often bullet points under missions that I've seen that talk about some of the other key components. The longer we make it, the harder it is. I'm not saying this well at all, but yeah.
like you just make the statement, the mission of the program is to do these things, knowledge and skills, and if you just take out dispositions to successfully promote continuous improvement within and between organizations by or through, and then you have a few bullets underneath that, possibly.
Okay. Well, let me, is there anything else that you want to put on the table for discussion? We're going to discuss the dispositions phrase and if and how to include the equity, diversity, and inclusivity. Is there anything else that somebody wants to bring into the discussion?
I could. There I underline dynamic. To develop dynamic leaders. That was dynamic was in the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I just kind of thought that sounded active and it sounded
Okay.
positive.
All right.
The other two words I like from this, I was the one that wanted the second one, but envision and design, because I think we're looking for leaders who are not managers. Managers manage, leaders lead. And leaders lead by, like I've said to you, you're a visionary person. You always, when you were our chair, you always envisioned stuff. And then you hoped that other people would kind of fill in the details, of how we can make this vision. So I like envisioning and designing because I think that's what places are looking for, not the usual managers that are just going to manage the status quo. But what can we do to change things? How can we redesign things? So those two words stuck at me. And that's why I like that second one.
Okay. Any others? What we're doing right is we're using this statement as the kind of the base that we're going to operate from. Most people thought that was best. We're underlining words that we might want to incorporate here. At this point, we're just sort of throwing those out on the table. And then we're also going to identify words that are problematic. Any other things that you want to throw into the hopper for consideration? Okay, what about words that are problematic? We already, dispositions I think was one. Any others? This statement I don't think has the engender word, right? Okay, so we don't have to circle that. Any other words within this statement that you think are problematic? Okay, all right, now let's take these each up in turn. The first one was whether or not to include the phrase equity, diversity, and inclusivity, and if it should be included, how so? We've already heard an argument or a concern that the statement has to be pretty succinct, and the more you add to it, the less succinct it becomes. So, it's been a long time since I.
Okay, there you go.
You're right.
There you go.
You're always supposed to do that. You're supposed to.
All right.
Okay, what the people are looking at. Amazing how quickly you get out of shape. Okay. So let's talk about the equity, diversity, inclusivity phrase. What's the argument for including that?
I guess my argument would be that I think that's a piece that can make the program unique, is to really emphasize that piece and not just something new. And I think we've talked about that somewhere in the past, but it needs to, about including it throughout the curriculum. But I think it's a piece that could be helped to make the program unique, to really have a strong emphasis on because certainly that's the world we live in, and people aren't there in terms of, I think, both in terms of knowledge, skills, and dispositions relating to that. So anyway, that would be my argument for including it, and I don't know, and I understand the length piece and keeping it trying to keep it succinct, but it may be something that has a catch to it that still can not, that can be embedded within and still not be too long. That's just my sense.
I like the phrase. I think it does help us to stand out. If we're trying to move forward into the 21st century, where for so many years we've held individuals back because of color or because of orientation one kind or another. I think if we make this statement and leaders are to embrace this within this program, I think it's a huge statement. And it fits. Larry's already got it. It fits in his write-up.
And I can wear the other hat, because I was the one that was suggesting that if we were really going to be looking at 21st century leaders, that we would assume that we have done that. And the reason I came to that is I asked my 27 to 34-year-old adult children what they thought. And my daughter, that was the youngest, was at Emory and Columbia as a journalist, said, "Mother, you're showing your age." She said, "We do this. We understand this. This has been part of our being." And she said, "I would suggest as a journalist that you include this in more detail, but of course we would do it. We would make the assumption because you're attracting people that are going to be younger than I am." So I just sort of surveyed the younger territory and asked them, and that's why I made the suggestion that I did. I don't have an answer one way or the other. I was just trying to be forward thinking and took it from the youthful world.
Well, I like it the way it is because I think it's straightforward, it's to the point. I think those ideas are a part of the knowledge, skills, I don't know if you want to change disposition to something else. And I also look at the conceptual framework that we have, equity, inclusivity, and diversity are some of the key foundational elements that are part of it. So I guess I'd like to see those brought into what Carol was talking about more, some of the other ideas